Guys, thanks for watching. Right, been up to some things. Let's have a look. Let's go. In the front of the march here, there has been absolutely nothing. Haven't done anything in there. Just winding up. Under the cover here, so VK56 still in the supercharger going into the Gloria. Made up a bit of a prototype thing here, and some people lost their shiz because they weren't paying attention. I did say it was a prototype and they didn't quite finish with it. These are to cover up the cam covers, the coils and all the guff that's under there, because the owner doesn't really want to see that sort of thing. And the concept is these will go black with some things happening. There's a bit more polishy, shiny happened under here. So I've polished up power steering reservoir, and I've made a catch can. I'm using that term very loosely. It's very small. It's, I don't know what you'd store in there, 1.5 litres maybe, if you're lucky. 1.2 litres probably, something like that. I should measure it and figure it out. It's 3-inch tube, and let's call it 200 millimeters long, so 76 and 200, you guys can do the maths, and it's like 1.2 or something like that. Anyway, so that someone on YouTube actually, and cheers whoever that was, reckoned we should make that the same as that, so it looks cool. And the owner was like, yeah, that's a good idea, let's do that. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. Right, so I did, and there you go. Now this side here, this is a prototype, as you can see, because obviously we're not going to have vivid and some cool words on the genuine article, and I'll probably be a little bit more careful when I mark out the cutout for the oil filler, and when I mark that that's the outside edge of the radius, I'll take note of that and not use it as the inside edge of the radius and then make the hole too big. Whoops, that happens, but it's a template, so that's cool. Bit of speed tape, aluminium tape, fixed, makes a good template to make a new one. To the side here, this is more like what we're going to do here. Obviously still not with the vivid on there. This is actually going to be recessed, so I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. I'll probably just make a tool to do it and press that in, so that's going to be recessed down a couple of millimeters from where this is. And there'll be a CNC'd aluminium insert go in here with better words than last time in there, and maybe a picture or something. We'll figure something out that looks good, and it's going to reflect, I don't know. The owner will come up with something that's probably going to get done later on down in Wellington. When the car goes home, he can come up with something. So this is it's got a bigger flat on here. It's a 90-degree V8, so the cam covers are 45 degrees, so you make the bends 45 degrees on the thing, and then this piece here is nice and flat, and it's the feng shui follows through, because that's about the same width as what the fuel rail cover / bracket is. So we tried to make it look nice. When you look at it from in the engine bay, once we get this other side over here done, it's going to look quite nice, I think. He thinks. It's his car, and we're doing what he wants, so if you don't like the aesthetics, well, look at someone else's car. The march. So there's a couple of things here. You'll notice there's two 70mm throttle bodies sitting on the milling machine there. Don't worry, the milling machine's got nothing to do with it, except it's being put to use. So I upgraded the march to a 75mm throttle body, and I didn't stick it on the front of this inlet manifold, because this inlet manifold was made with a limited amount of time. I didn't want to spend too much effort on it, knowing that it could change later on, and we only had so much time to get the job done anyway. So as you can see, it's not a lot of shape to it. It is tapered just marginally, just ever so slightly towards the front, but it's probably more of an accident than anything else. It's about 5-10 millimeters. That's an AN8 fitting on there, which is not ideal. It's for the brake booster. Should have been an AN6. I think maybe that's all I had at the time, or something like that. I don't know. The runner's exceptionally short. Yep, there's enough light for you to see in there. That's good. and no trumpets or anything like that on the inside. So, and marginal with the volume of that, you know, it's probably not really big enough for whatever it is, 600 horsepower motor. It's 400 kilowatts at the hubs, depends on what the losses are through drivetrain. Let's call it 600 just for argument's sake. So that was only ever a bit of a ghetto experimental, let's get it running sort of deal. As I say, with a 70mm throttle on there. So if we go to the back of the car, I did have a little bit of a clean up, but then I kind of made a mess again. I've still got that old motor from the ute sitting over there. Right, in the back of the car, oh look, I put the light there so that we could see, but you guys can see fine, that's all good. Here we go, we've got a VK45 DE throttle body on there now, which was damaged. The plug had been smashed off it. I think I may have shown you on a video earlier, and I put a new harness on there and fiberglassed it on there, so it's should be up to the task for what we're doing here. I blasted it and painted it and made it all look pretty good. Looks pretty shiny and everything, you know. It's better than what we had in there anyway. So new plenum is much taller, tapers down quite nicely towards the front. That's as tall as I can make that at the front and actually fit it without lowering the engine in the car, which is a huge job, and I'm not interested in that. So yeah, there's a compromise with its performance, possibly. Don't care. It needs to be a serviceable item. You know, if something goes wrong and I want to, let's say I want to take out the injectors and clean the injectors from those horrid blue anodized fuel rails under there, which we need to fix one day. It needs to happen, you know. I need to be able to actually do it, and I don't want to have to drop the engine to get the inlet manifold off. So there's that. Yep, so I've shifted a couple of fittings around on here. We've got, lighting's not that great, we've got an AN6 fitting on the front there. You can just see that just to the top of your screen. Put the fitting for the fuel pressure regulator and the great big honky, what is it? It's an HKS something, mega noisy, blow-offy, valvey thingy. Tidied that all up a little bit. And so now we've only got two fittings on the other side. I've shortened up the harness for the boost controller thingy. That was just slapped on there back in the day when we first put it on. I never got around to doing anything with it. And putting a nice waterproof plug on there. So it's got a Deutsch connector on there now. As does the throttle. That Deutsch connector there, that is for the throttle. I was going to shorten up the harness a little bit, but we'll just leave it at that for the moment. Don't worry about the ice. It's not ice cream, is it? It's yogurt. Don't worry about the yogurt container. That's for draining the yucky out of the catch can. Some of that stuff takes a while to come out, so I've just put a little bit of hose in there and it can just sit there until we're ready to go to the track, and we'll take it off at that point. So inside there, we've got nice big trumpets, which I made a tool to fabricate those. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. Where is my tool? There it is. Right there it is, right there. Hey, if I go rummaging for a piece of pipe, I can show you how this works. It doesn't look like much, does it? But you put that in the press. Somewhere over here is the, there we go. There's our victim. Let's test and see how far we could press this before it failed. I found the limit where it failed, but you stop just short of that and you get a reasonable shaped trumpet going on. So all that needs to happen, this one's been tapered down too, I'll show you that in a second. All that needs to happen is I put a piece of tube on there and press it down, and just curves the end rail. Easy peasy. Works great. Then if you want to taper them in so they're smaller at the bottom than they are at the top, see that side, you can see that. This is actually out of a Nissan gearbox, and I butchered it and I put a taper on the inside of it. So I put that in the press. I'll put the piece of tube in that. You see it falls all the way down now because that's actually been crushed down. And that one on top, press on there. Bob's your uncle. You've got tapered. Like, this one's destroyed, obviously, and there's none of those that look like that in the car, so don't worry about that. So that's that. talking about these throttles, bigger throttles onto the VQ35. Obviously they've got a different plug on them, and the throttle that I've used got no plug at all, because basically that's quite hard to get off with one hand. Here's a better plan. Basically, if you just smash that off there and leave the pins behind, that's what I had on the other throttle, except they're a 6x1 configuration rather than a 2x3. So these are quite squarish, whereas the other ones are a big long rectangle normally. Of course, now we've just got pigtails hanging out of it, because, like I said, I've soldered on some wires onto the terminals and then fiberglass a little box around that to make it all nice and strong. So we had to put a plug on it. So this is where it all got funky. Here's the plug on the old style one. There's the throttle there sitting like that, and that's what's drawn there. So then I knew which pins did which things on the old setup. I went through and figured out which coloured wires did what on what pins on the old setup. Then I had to figure out what pins did what on the new throttle. And of course I'd put different wires on it, so they didn't match up with the factory wires. So then we got all sorts of funny things going on, like just by coincidence pin 1 works out okay. So pin 1's 5 volts on both of them. That was easy. But on the new one it was a red wire, and on the old one it was black wire on the old harness. So that's not too bad, you can do that. Pin 2 is the TP, throttle position sensor sub. So not the main one, that's the backup one basically. TPS2 otherwise you could call it. Yeah, but on this one it was TPS1, and it's white. And on the other one it was red plus blue. So there's all sorts of, this is why you're never going to remember all those things. So that's why you write it all down, and then you can go through and you can get it right. And it didn't. I got 2 transpons somehow. Managed to write it down wrong while I was busy doing the list. The glory of the Link setup, the Link ECU that's in here. Damn it, the laptop's on the bench there and it's not plugged in. But I'll just run through. It's smart enough, unlike some other ECU that I was using recently. If you do have an error like that and you tell it to calibrate it, it'll go, nah, it's broken. Nah, there's an error. And it comes up right there, right in your calibration screen, right where you can see it. And you know straight away there's a problem. Unlike another ECU that we were dealing with a little while ago, that tells you off the bottom of the screen where you can't see it, unless you scroll right down on the screen, that there's a problem. It tells you it's calibrated and it's all good. And it's not. That's not ideal. So maybe they'll look at that in the future and fix that. The Link system, however, molto uno, so much better. Actually works properly. Told me there was a problem. I went and looked, tried to figure it out, and went back to my chart and went, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Swap 2 wires over, boom, calibrated straight away, functional, working, everything goes. Compared to the other ECU that we're dealing with in the Ute, I've spent the best part of about 2 or 3 hours just trying to get the thing to idle properly, because it's just uber fussy, and having a bit of trouble managing all that, whereas the system that's in the Link running this throttle on the March, even though it's a much bigger throttle, well, a little bit bigger throttle, same difference actually, 70 to 75, same change as what was in the Ute to the March, the exact same parts, swap for the exact same parts. The Link system in the March, no problems, it's fine, idles perfectly, it's good as gold. The other ECU in the Ute, more time required, still not right yet. It's drivable, it's okay, and I'm not moaning about it, but it's just, it could be better, I think. Not that I could make it better, I'm not I don't build ECUs or write software, so, but, anyway, so there you go, that's our update for that little thing there, and the Gloria, which isn't here, I can't show you that, it's not there. See that? Empty. That's bloody nice having some space in the workshop for once. What's happened with the Gloria is we've low volume vehicle technical inspector, I guess engineer, whatever you want to call him. He's come and had a look, the guy that we're using, and he's okay with what he can see right there and then right now. He's okay with that. He's not raised any concerns with me. It's not entirely over to him, though. There is a technical committee that needs to give everything the green light. Paperwork's done for that, sent down to Wellington. Unsure when that will happen. Have to wait basically for the green light from them before we take it any further with our inspector here in Hamilton. Repair certifier, so there's a different engineer. He's been seen, he's happy. He was like, but why don't you take all the paint off the bottom of the car? Why have you stopped and left the stuff at the back? You should really take the stuff off under the back as well. So I don't think that was an absolute requirement. I think that was a suggestion. So I spent Friday afternoon covering myself in black powder, stripping paint off the back of the car, and the panel beater gave us a hand with that. So we had 2 of us under the back of the car. I think I was under there 3 hours, maybe a bit more, a bit less, something like that. And he was under there a couple of hours, and we got the bulk of it knocked over, and I think they would have finished that today. Paint's probably going to go on soon, I guess. I don't know. I'll chase that up later on. It's not something I'm overly concerned about. It's going to happen. It's just when it happens, you know. So there you go. It's going to make some bloody awesome video putting that all back together. We were going to originally paint the bottom of the car just black. Have decided that we might as well make the colour the same colour as the rest of the car, because it's just as easy to do that as what it is to make it black. So the engine bay and wheel arches and bottom of the car are all going to be the same colour as body on the outside of the car. And the inside of the car, I don't know what they're doing there. Maybe that's going to be grey. Maybe it might even go the same colour as the rest of it as well. And it's going to look really bloody good, actually, if they do that. That'll be something to be proud of, eh? Enough talk. Do we start that? Hang on, this what's going on? Battery's on, power steering's not on. It's cool, we don't need that. Door's closed. That'll just keep the neighbours happy. Might stink me out. Oh, I know what we'll do. Let's move that. Because if I start it, it's going to rattle and vibrate. It's going to crash down onto the ground. See that? It tried to. Can't fall from there, can it? Right. Now that I've said how good the Link ECU is, it's probably going to... I'll probably curse myself. Let's turn that on. Woo! See, I had it running earlier on today, but it's not hot. There you go. Running again with its new manifold. I do think I need to put some reinforcing on that. Can you hear the difference? I'm sure you can. There's a bit of oil canning going on the top of that plenum because it's so big. We're going to turn this off or I'll get fumed out. Can I reach in there? Yeah, the neighbours love that. Neighbours love me when I do that. Alright, cheers for watching. Bye.